that you love yourself? And how well do you feel that you love others? And do you feel like there's even a way that you can tell how, on a scale, do you know that you're loving people the way that you should be loving them? And how well can you know that you're loving yourself and if you're doing it the right way? I think that these are fantastic questions to ask yourself and others around you. These are questions that I asked myself, and I went down an entire rabbit hole. And after I have gleaned some information, I am now coming back with that information. I am going to be talking a lot in a spiritual Christian point of view, talking about verses from the Bible, but I do want to preface that this video is not just being seen underneath that viewpoint. I am also bringing in the science community and the psychology community with all of the things that I have learned from not just the spiritual aspect, but the actual science community as well, that they both go hand in hand, they both support each other, and that the Bible has some really good kind of parables and similes to kind of show you how you can actually affix your thoughts and your words in a manner that is more pleasing for yourself and for others, to live a better life, a better, holistic, healthier life. So without further ado, let's get right back into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is your internal world and your external world, and how looking at either one of those can be very telling and informative for you. Kind of look with a magnifying glass, look at yourself underneath the magnifying glass and really look at what's going on with your internal and your external worldview, because that actually gives you a lot of information of probably where you are at. In order to become successful or reach a goal, you need to first check where you are at right now. So let's look at where we're at right now and kind of see, where we're at in our internal, external worldviews, and kind of see what that looks like. So I'm going to go to the Bible, and I'm going to go to Luke. In Luke 11:34, Jesus tells us that your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when it is unhealthy, your body is filled with darkness. Your internal world, your eye, what you're seeing externally and around you, what you're seeing out of other human beings, their actions, what they're doing, your assumptions and your thoughts, whatever you're seeing outside is actually what's going on inside. Your eye is like a lamp for the rest of your body. Your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when your eye is unhealthy, your whole body is filled with darkness. And if the light you think you have is actually darkness, how deep that darkness is. So we want to be a little bit mindful. This is kind of giving us a warning that whatever we're seeing outside is affecting us internally. And a lot of us can convince ourselves that what we're actually seeing outside is light, when it actually is actually darkness. And those that think in that kind of thought pattern, how lost we are, and to be really mindful of that. We don't want to get lost in our own, cognitive biases. We don't want to get lost in our assumptions, So we just want to be really careful of that, our internal and our external worldview, of this dichotomy of you equals me, and there needs to be love on both sides of that equation. Our internal and our external, they're affected. They affect each other. It very much is like an equal sign. That's kind of how I see the concept of a one party against another party. In order for there to be equality, they really do have to be equal. It has to be an equal sign. There can't be any injustice in either way. So however you're looking here is how you're looking over here. So we just need to be mindful of that. So let's say we take a look at that. And so if you think that you're loving yourself, and you think and believe that you're loving others, let's take a look at that. Let's look at going from the general idea, let's shrink it down, and let's look at the micro instead of the macro. So let's look at someone's thoughts, right? Let's look inside of their mind. Let's look at superiority and inferiority, or a better word is comparison. Or another word is competition. A you versus me sort of dichotomy, thought pattern, words of mouth coming out of that sort of thinking and thought patterns and word usage. You're definitely stuck in the superiority, inferiority complex. That second thing that it leads you to, though, if you start to compare and have competition with others unhealthily, comparison and unhealthy competition, this person's better than me, this person's worse than me, that sort of thinking, that's what we're looking at here specifically, it will lead you to criticism every time. So this would be someone that superiority and inferiority, say comparing apples to oranges. Now, we're all different people and we all come from different backgrounds. We all have a different way that we were born, and then a different way that we all were raised, and then a different way of how we all choose to live, and those preferences that we all have, that we all live differently. And if you don't believe that, or you think other contrary to that thought of that everybody lives differently, everybody is different than another person, then you're probably stuck in a very simple and one of the easiest cognitive biases to get stuck by, of a personal bias of everybody thinks and feels exactly the same way that I do. And that's just it's not true. So we have to be careful getting stuck by the bias of comparison and competition, because that's going to lead you into criticism. Your eye is like a lamp, right, of what you're seeing externally outside of you. And then internally, what happens internally for us of criticism, and when we're starting to compare two unlikely things, they're never going to be the same. So why are we comparing? Because we want control. So we have to be careful here. So I want to look at criticism. I want to take you to Matthew 15:18. But the words you speak come from the heart, and that's what defiles you. Leading in 19, for from the heart come evil thoughts. The words you speak from the heart, that's what defiles you. Your words, okay? And then let's look at Psalms 19:14. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And then Luke 6:45. A good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart. So criticism, this can lead you to criticism. If you start comparing competition, unlikely items, other people to yourself, if you are comparing yourself to other people, it's going to lead you to criticism. Either criticism outside your external world, or criticism internally. And I just want to preface that the number one thing leads to the number two, and it's going to lead you to number three automatically every time. You are now stepping into judgment. You are now judging yourself, judging others. It's just not a good place to be. This brings you right into a negative mindset, a negative inner world, a negative external world. So if any of these things are kind of flagging for you, if any of these things are kind of feeling like they're hitting right on the mark, or you're kind of like, yes, okay, I understand, this is where I'm at, now what though? What can I do to stop these negative thought patterns? How can I break out of the criticism? How can I stop that? And how do I kind of flip the switch on this internal external world? If it's so negative for me, how can I turn it into a positive? Let's look at some pretty big parts that I think that help with our inner world and our mental health and what's going on inside. So inside, we all have a inner critic. It's a voice that's in our head, and sometimes it's not always our voice. It doesn't necessarily always sound like us. Sometimes it can start out, we think that this really negative inner voice that we have, that sometimes will bubble up, come up to the surface. It will tell you things, or tell you horrible things, or put you down, or tell you to put others down. There's this inner critic voice that's inside subconsciously in our minds, and it will lead us every time to self-sabotage. sabotage. I also like to call this the part X. It's the part that's against you. If you've seen Stutz, the Netflix documentary, I also like to call this like the Satan aspect. It's this inner voice that gets in our heads that starts to tell us things, tell us to say things, do things, think things that are negative and they're against us, and it gets us stuck in this kind of negative internal external worldview, and it's a trap. It's a spell that's put over us. So self-sabotage, I do want to spend a couple minutes talking about self-sabotage. The most common self-sabotaging behaviors that people have include procrastination, self-medication with drugs or alcohol, comfort eating, and forms of self-injury such as cutting. But honestly, there's a lot of like surface level, lower level ways that we are very abusive to ourselves and to others with our inner thoughts, our inner world of what's going on and our assumptions of what we think is going on. And it will lead us astray every time, because it will lead us to thinking these really negative things about ourselves or others, and it will start us on this downward spiral path of self-sabotage where at first we'll think that we messed up. Something happened and we messed up. This voice will come up and tell us like, oh, yep, see, these are all the times that you've messed up. So here's all the evidence to support why you messed up here and what it means about your identity and how horrible you are. And it's very hard to break out of it. But when you start to break out of this inner critic, self-sabotage, you start to be able to go from the negative mindset into the positive worldview mindset. The things that you start to experience in that world are you have a better personal inner voice. So I want to look at this a little bit deeper of how do we know if we have an inner critic voice inside or not, right? Some of us, I know, we don't even believe that we have an internal dialogue or an internal voice at all. Maybe you're like, nah, none of this makes any sense. I'm not that harsh to myself. I'm fine. Like, we all deserve a little bit of salt rubbed in our wounds to get us going. Sometimes all of us need a little bit of, fuel in the fire to build up, to push through, to get stuff done, to get stuff taken care of. And I just want to pause here. If you'll just indulge me to take a couple moments, I want us to kind of sit and look at two separate lists, right? This is super easy. We're going to sit here, we're going to take a couple moments, and we're going to take an honest inventory of our thoughts and our mindset and the things that we say to ourselves, the things that we say about others for a moment here. So I want to just pause here with two lists on the screen here of the fruits of the Spirit. This can be found in Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 through 23. For the fruit of the Spirit, we have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And then on the flip side, this fleshly nature that's called out in the Bible, the sinful nature, the weeds in the garden, if you will, that we do need to go through and we do need to prune our garden, are our thoughts. I want to look at chapter 5, verses 19 through 21. This is the complete list of all the sinful natures. So we have conceitedness, we have jealousy, we have impurity, we have lustful pleasures. I've got this highlighted specifically because I want to look at this a little bit deeper. So lustful pleasures, idolatry, sorcery, hostility, outbursts of anger, more specifically rage, uncontrolled rage, selfish ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and etc. And I have specific ones highlighted here: lustful pleasures, outbursts of anger, rage, drunkenness, wild parties. I wanted to highlight these ones specifically because what he is specifically mentioning is those actions that go against discipline and obedience. If we know that we ought do something and then we don't do it, it's a sin. So if you are not living a good, healthful life, a life that is giving good fruit and it giving you good things internally and externally, right? It's that equal sign here. So I just want to pause here and just look at this list side by side here. And I want you to take a personal inventory right now, an actual, true, realistic, honest, personal inventory of your inner world, your inner thoughts. How do you normally talk to yourself? Say you're kind of having a rough day and you don't end up getting something done. Say you really need to get that load of dishes done, so you could get dinner prepared. Say you really needed to make sure that you paid that bill on time, and gosh dang it, you forgot again, right? Say something that you messed up on, you made a mistake, right? You're human. How do you talk to yourself? What are the words that you usually use towards yourself? What's the tone like? Is it really your voice, or is it a parent's voice that if you would have messed up, your parents would have talked to you like that? Is it that kind of inner critic voice? Is it that you're a naughty child, you messed up, you now need to be shamed so that you can feel embarrassed because you messed up? Is it you need to hold your nose to the grinder because you need to just try harder and do better and not mess up ever again, which unfortunately is impossible. You're bound to mess up. But I want to look at these inner thoughts and inner words that we use towards ourselves, because I really want to highlight here that if you really answered at the beginning of this video that yes, you do love yourself and that you really do love others, I want to tell you right now that if your inner world is of the sinful nature column and not the fruit of the spirit column, I want you to pause here and realize that it's not true. It's not true. You are not loving yourself, or on the flip side, loving others the way that you thought that you were. You really are not. So what can we do? What is our hope in this sinful world, right? Say you feel trapped by your thoughts. What can we do? Our mindset and our inner thoughts. Is there anything that we can do to grab a hold of these thoughts and these thinking patterns to change them and get them to work with us as opposed to against us, and causing us to continue to self-sabotage ourselves, to no longer get closer to our goals, and to also shoot ourselves in our own foot, to put ourselves down, to put others that we truly do love in our life down? We don't want to continue to do that anymore. So what can we do? What can we do? So I want to take you to Philippians 4:8. I want to show you what you can do to actually help in moments like this, where say the next time something happens and you catch this come up for yourself where, oh man, I'm being awfully harsh here. What can we do? So Philippians 4:8, it tells us, and now dear brothers and sisters, one final thing, all right? The last thing he wants to let us know. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Okay, so we want to think about those things. So the next time that we have a thought come up that maybe it's a little bit negative based, maybe we're being a little too harsh, maybe we're not being super kind to ourselves or to others, maybe we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe we need to just be a little bit more gentle on ourselves, because we tend to forget how much we actually do. Just being alive is enough. To be honest, it's enough work just to be alive as it is, right? So I want us to make sure that when those thoughts come up, I want us to recognize that negative thought has come up for us, that negative internal, external worldview has come up. And I want us to immediately just kibosh that away. And no, we're not going to allow that to stand. We're going to cut those thoughts down at the knees, just cut them down. And we're going to instead think about what's true and honorable, what's right and pure, what's lovely, what's excellent and worthy of praise. I want you to have like 3 to 5 things ready to go in the back of your mind of positive thoughts, right? The next time that like, oh my gosh, I messed up, I'm so horrible, right? I want you to have in the back of your mind ready to go a thought of, you know what? I made a mistake. I know that I've made a mistake one other time before, right? And guess what? Even though I made that mistake, it was still okay. Because I guarantee you that there's been a moment in your lives at some point where you thought you royally messed up or that it was going to go really bad, but it still worked out. It still was okay. I want you to come up with a time that happened, and I want you to have that ready to go on the back of your mind. That the next time that this thought comes up where, oh man, I've messed up. No, I haven't. It's been okay before. I'm going to trust that it's going to be okay this next time. And then that's for internal world stuff, right? How we're speaking to ourselves. But how do we talk externally out? So let's look at Colossians 3:2. Let's look at that and see how we should be thinking externally in our external worldview. So Colossians 3:2, he tells us to think about the things of heaven and not the things of earth. So I want you guys to think about not the things that are happening here, okay, and what's going on right now. I know that things look terrible and that they're bad right now. I know that people are in pain and dying and being used and exploited and killed and murdered in the streets, and we are not kind to ourselves. We're having a horrible experience being human beings on the world right now. But I want you to think about the future and what you have been promised, what you should know if you do read your Bible to give you direction of where you should keep your thoughts affixed is knowing that Jesus has already won, that he's already claimed the victory, that he is coming soon, and that those things have been taken care of. But say you're not a spiritual person and you're just looking for some just good, wise life advice of what can you do to make sure that your external worldview is on the up and up and in a positive way and on a way of going, instead of looking at it in a spiritual way of knowing that Christ has already conquered it, I want you to look at Romans 12:2. Okay, Romans has some great life advice of how to live your life. It lets us know to don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. So let God transfer you into a new person by changing the way that you think. Let the positive thoughts come in. Don't let all the negativity run everything always. And don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, okay? A lot of people like to get trapped by the things that come out of our mouths, right? Watch your words. Your words hold a lot of power whether you know it or believe it. Your words basically create your reality. Your words and your thoughts create your mindset and your truth, your reality. So if you want to fix your mind on the negative viewpoints of this life or how you've messed up, if you want to only think about the negative things that have happened, then you will continue to only attract negativity into your life. It will only continue on and on. That's all you will ever see. So if you want to just make an easy switch over to the positive viewpoint, keep your mind affixed on the love, the joy, the peace, the patience, your kindness, the goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Be disciplined and obedient in which you know that you ought to, and don't not do it, because then you know that you're messing up at that point. But you want to make sure to not step into the judgment. You don't want to go in the judgment realm. So I want to take us back out of this spiral that we went through of the last point being judgment. I want to show you that you don't have to be trapped by judgment. I want to show you that there is a way to true salvation. So On the opposite side of judgment is salvation and true forgiveness. You get that through true love, mercy. You get that through trust, which is faith. You get that through honesty, which is truth. And you get that through respect, which is fear of God. So to have those, that's where you want to go. You don't want to be on the other side, the worldview of judgment, which is unforgiveness. You don't want it to lead to fear, trapped by anger, to be misused by perceptions and deceptions, your own personal deceptions, all laid on a bed foundation of disrespect and apathy. You've just completely turned off from living, from being alive, from loving others, from loving yourself. You're just apathetic at this point. I know that it's easier said than done. I know this because I've went through this. I know that this is an absolutely difficult journey of further good work. But I think that if I could whittle this down, this entire thought concept, this thing that I've learned, this is not original work at all. This is just something that I personally was struggling with, of how can I make sure that I love myself and that I also love others the way that I think and that I say that I'm doing? How can I make sure that that is true and based in integrity? And then how can we hold ourselves accountable to continue forward and make sure that we don't fall into our old negative thought patterns and actions? We want to make sure to not fall back into those old patterns. I hope that you found this helpful. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Remember, I love every single one of you. I hope that you have a great day. Remember to spread kindness to yourself and to others, and I'll see you guys in my next video.